श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः। हरिः ओं। सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्परां। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानामालयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादशङ्करं लोकशङ्करं। शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः। ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। गुकारस्वन्धकारो वैरुकारस्तन्निवर्तकः अन्धकारनिरोधित्वात् गुरुरित्यभिधीयते। ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहैः। ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः। ॐ भद्रं कर्णेभिः शृणुयामदेवाः भद्रं पश्येमाक्षभिर्यजत्राः स्थिरैरङ्गैः स्तुष्ट्वागुंसस्तनूभिः विषेम देवहितं यदायुः। स्वस्ति न इन्द्रो वृद्धश्रवाः स्वस्ति नः पूषा विश्ववेदाः स्वस्ति नस्तार्क्ष्यो अरिष्टनेमिः स्वस्ति नो बृहस्पतिर्दधातु। ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः। ॐ प्रज्ञानां शुप्रतानैः स्थिरचरनिगरव्यापिभिर्व्याप्य लोकान् भुक्त्वा भोगान् स्तविष्टान् पुनरपि दिषणोद्भासितान् कामजन्यान् पीत्वा सर्वान् विशेषान् स्वपदि मधुरभुङ् मायया भोजयन्नः मायासङ्ख्यातुरीयं परममृतमजं ब्रह्म यत्तन्नतोऽस्मि। उत्पादस्य प्रसिद्धत्वात् अजं सर्वमुदाहृतं न च भूतादभूतस्य सम्भवोऽस्ति कथञ्चन। असज्जागरिते दृष्ट्वा स्वप्ने पश्यति तन्मयः असत्स्वप्नेऽपि दृष्ट्वा च प्रतिबुद्धो न पश्यति। So there are 4 prakaranas in this Karika by Gaudapada Karika. One very interesting observation I read in a work by one of the sadhus. I was going through his interpretation of the 4 prakaranas. He made an interesting observation that since there are 4 padas being spoken about in the Vishwa Tejasa Prajna and Turiya, there are 4 padas which are spoken about in the Mandukya Upanishad itself. That Ayamatma, Chatushpad and all that. If you remember, we spoke about all those in the first prakarana. And the Omkara was also picked up. And again, as part of the Omkara, the Pratika and the 3 matras were presented, Akara, Ukara, Makara, and Amatra was presented as the 4th pada of Omkara. So extending that to the 4 prakaranas that have been included in the Karika, that Swamiji actually interprets that these 4 padas, these 4 prakaranas are like 4 padas, where the first prakarana, which is about the actual Shruti, is the Vishwa. It is talking about the Vishwa. Then Vaithatya Prakaranam, the Agama Prakaranam is talking about Vishwa. The Vaidatya Prakaranam is focusing on Taijasa Atma. Okay. And the Advaita Prakaranam, because it was talking a lot about Samadhi and all that, it is referring to more Prajnaha, the Prajnana Ghana. And this Alata Shanti is like the Amatra or Turiya Avastha, because it is not talking about either Vishwa or Taijasa or Prajna, but it is actually talking about the Nirguna Niravayava Nirakara Swarupa by dismissing everything. That is why this reads more like Buddhist, because it is basically dismissing all those three states and showing that all that is there is only the Satta Matra Brahma. Therefore, that was actually a very good observation. I thought I start with that. So here in this portion especially, the Karikakara is dwelling on Swapna Jagrat. There is no difference. In fact, one question that will typically come is, already this Swapna Drishtanta has been used in an earlier prakarana where Drishyatvat Hetu was used from Swapna to show that Jagrat is also Swapnavat. Here also everything is Drishyam. Therefore, Drishyatvat Anritam Yata Swapne, that Hetu was used. But there also, very interestingly, that other Swamiji has given an insight. He says, in that context, it was about dismissing the Jagrata Avastha only. Whereas here, the Swapnam is used not just to dismiss Jagrat, but to dismiss everything. In fact, that is correct. He actually, the Karikakara goes both ways here. We will see in the next verse or the one after, where the any kind of Karya Karana, the causality is not establishable between unreal and real, or unreal and unreal, real and real, or real and unreal. Okay. So he picks up all cases and dismisses all of them. So which means the Swapna is used to dismiss everything here. That is why it is coming as part of Alata Shanti, where the focus is to show it is Amatra, it is Turiya only which is there. That is the context of this bringing the Swapna again. Okay, we saw this 38. Utpadasya aprasiddhatvat ajam sarvam udahritam. Nacha bhutad abhutasya sambhavah asti katanchana. Utpadasya aprasiddhatvat, any kind of utpatti is not establishable. Utpadaha aprasiddhaha. Atyanta chalaha hi swapnaha, and Bhashyakara talks about swapnam, and he brings the steadiness of Jagarita. The difference between the dream and the waken is steady, stiram lakshyate. Swapna is like very flickery, it is very temporary, and it is just there at the time of seeing the swapna, but then there is no niyan, there is what niyati there, niyati as in niyantran. So there is no structure to swapna. However, in the case of waken, you come back and see the same father, mother, child, the next day you see the same house. So it is evident that the Vakan is what is steady and Swapnam is what is just an interim state. So you can't compare both, is what is the contention. But Bhashikara says that is true with reference to Avivekis, people who haven't analyzed. But if you actually look at it through the Shruti Pramana and then get the true vision, that is what he means by Vivekinam. Okay. Then the Sabhahyabhyantaro Hyajaha that Mundaka is talking about, all that is there is one thing and that is not born because there is no karanam for it. Aja means, see, birth means what? There should be another karana and this karya. Ajam means karanavatvam should be there. Whereas this Swarupa doesn't have any, this whole Jagat reduces itself to only consciousness, which is not born because it is Niravayava, Nirguna. In fact, yesterday only we were talking about this in Bhagavad Gita, where Anaditvat, Nirgunatvat was spoken about. So, Paramatma Avyayaha, like that, Bhagavan talks in the 13th chapter towards the end. Similarly, here, this Ajatvam, the Atma, the whole Jagat is unborn, is established through Shruti that we saw in the last session. Now come to 39. Asajjagarite drishtva swapne pashyati tanmayaha asat swapnepi drishtva cha pratibuddho na pashyati. Then he asks a question, Purvapakshi asks a question. Nanu uktam tvaya eva swapnaha jagrita karyam. You only said in the previous verses that swapnam is nothing but an effect of what you have seen in Vakan. You only said no in the previous verses. Now, how come you are saying aprasiddha is the question. Tat kadam utpadaha aprasiddha iti uchyate. How come you are saying there is no cause effect? Of course, the dream is effect of what was experienced in Vakan. There is no doubt in that. But some people argue that there is not, there is no credence to it. There are many times where you see something in Swapnam and then that happens 2 days later. We all have that experience. No? So, which came first? So, you get a dream that, Sachin Tendulkar will hit a century in a Chepak ground or something, and that happens within the next 3 days. Exact same incident sometimes comes in the dream. Like somebody entering our house, you will see a dream and after a day you will suddenly find that same person is coming the exact same way. All this also happened, the premonition or whatever we talk about. So this purvaparatvam also, you can always explain that psychologically how it happens and all that, but what comes before, what comes after alone cannot determine which follows what, right? Anyway, so here the question asked is, you only said the Vakan is the cause for the dream because the dream is something which is built upon by your own memories. How come here you are saying aprasiddha, utpadaha, creation? No creation is possible. That is what he said. No, there is nothing which is actually created. Everything is only a parinama. So from a pot, a rat does not come. It's only clay which remains the pot all through, right? There is no real birth. The clay appears as pot, then as shell or something cup, whatever. It's the same gold which is there in the rock, then it becomes lump of gold, then it becomes a chain, then it becomes a ring, then it becomes something else. So honestly, it's only Panchabhuta that you are seeing, like entropy is a constant. All these things are a constant. Nothing is actually created. Okay. That was what was told. Now the question is asked is, then how come you are suddenly saying aprasiddha, because you said dream is born out of vacan. So he says shrunu tatra yatha karyakarana bhavaha asmabhihi avipretaha iti. Now listen to us. How do we look at this cause effect? Of course there is a cause effect. Okay, we are not just talking some imaginary stuff. We do accept what, that the dream is born from the waken, the memories, correct, that is understood. But listen to us exactly how it he says asat avidyamanam rajju sarpavat vikalpitam. असत् अविद्यमानं रज्जु सर्पवत् विकल्पितं वस्तु जागरिते दृष्ट्वा तद्भावभावितः तन्मयः स्वप्ने अपि जागरितवत् ग्राह्यग्राहकरूपेण विकल्पयन् पश्यति। तथा असत् स्वप्ने अपि दृष्ट्वा च प्रतिबुद्धः न पश्यति अविकल्पयन् च शब्दात्. Yes, sir, we do see what is seen in Vacan in some kind of distorted form in Swapna. But what we say is, what you see in Vacan also is Asat only. That is a fact. Asat avidyamanam, the non-existent duality, is what is experienced in Vacan. Rajju sarpavat vikalpitam. So the superimposed snake on the rope is like that. You are seeing in Vacan, in Chaitanya Atma only, you are seeing this whole Jagat. Because one other argument also we have already given. At the time of Swapna, the one who is seeing the Swapnam doesn't see Swapnam as unreal. Only the Vacan, in the Vacan, that which obtains in the Vacan sees Swapnam as unreal. Okay. And within one Swapnam, suddenly you switch to another Swapnam also. And each Swapna appears as real at the time of you watching, experiencing the dream. So, for you to actually say the Jagat is unreal, you should not be a Jagat, Jagrat as unreal, you should not be a Jagrat player. You should come out of it. That is what is Jnanam. Only a Jnani, once you gain Jnanam, you will see Jagrat also as unreal. So, you can't expect, if when you are doing, having the Jnatrijnana Jnaya Veda, you haven't gained the Vedantic vision, obviously everything will appear as real in Vacan, just like everything appears as real within Swapna. So the one who is obtaining in dream, that you don't see dream as unreal at the time seeing the dream. So that argument was also given. So now here it is extending it, saying that the Vacan experience that you are having, that itself is a non-real experience only. The reality is only everything is Chaitanyam Brahma, because nothing is away from it. Every experience, the content of the experience is nothing but consciousness. So there is nothing that is away from consciousness. Even the Jadavastu is Jadavastu consciousness only. So just like Swapnam is entirely only consciousness, which is Vrityatmakam, it appears as dream. Similarly in Vacan also, all the Jnatrijnana Jnaya Veda that you are perceiving, the Jnaya Padartha is not away from Nyapti Swarupa. The Jnata is not away from Nyapti Swarupa. The Jnanam also is not away from Nyapti Swarupa. In fact, the content of Jnayam, content of Jnata, content of Jnanam, all of them is only Nyapti. The Vrittitvam is Mithya, just like the waveness is Mithya, the oceanness is Mithya, the bubbleness is Mithya. What is Satyam? The content, water alone is Satyam. Like that in Vekan also, it is Rajju Sarpavat. Existing thing is only Rajju. On top of it, you are seeing all the manifested snake, which seems to have a tail, it seems to have a head, it seems to have color, it seems so many things it is there on it. But actually, what is there is only Rajju. Like that, when Prajnapti alone is there, You are seeing an anatma jagat. That is avidyamanam, that non-existent, that alone jagarite drishtva, the duality you are experiencing, because there is a tadatmya adhyasa in that experience. So you identify yourself as one of the players, just like you are identifying yourself with one person within the swapna, which is entirely your own creation. You are creating the elephant, the king, the road, everything there, and but you identify only with one individual, which is you within the swapna, even though entirely it is only you. Similarly, in Vekan also, there is a tadatmya adhyasa to one particular karya karana sanghata, this particular upadhi, and then you see the everything as not you. Therefore, that experience, that memory, you carry forward into swapna. Tadbhava bhavitasaha tanmayaha swapne api jagaritavate. Just like in the Vekan, there is a grahya grahaka rupa vikalpa. Grahya grahaka is nothing but pramadra pramana prameya vyavahara jnatri jnana jnaya, however you want to call. Grahya grahaka is the term is used here, okay, in this Upanishad. The one who is clinching it, that which is being held on to, that is a grahyam. Grahaka, the one who is the holder. Okay, rupena vikalpayan pashyati. Tata asat swapne api drishtva cha pratibuddha na pashyati. Whereas the opposite doesn't happen. Asat swapne drishtva cha pratibuddha na pashyati. There also it is asat only. So the memory that typically is carried forward from Vekan is what jumbled up appears as dream. So the dream thing is doesn't get again jumbled up in Vekan. Okay, the Vekan there is a continuity. Of course, the dream is subservient to the Vekan is a fact. Okay, but that doesn't make Vekan as fully true. That is the point. Okay, avikalpayanne cha shabdat tata jagarite api drishtva swapnena pashyati kadachit ityartah. Tasmat, see the cha shabda is saying it gives a exception. Exceptions are allowed by adding that cha. Not everything that you see in Vekan you see in Swapna. Okay, and sometimes what you see in Swapna happens later in Vekan also. So there is, even though 99% of case it is one way, but there are exceptions. That's why the cha shabda is there. Tasmat jagaritam swapna hetu iti uchyate natu paramartha sati iti kritva. So while jagarita is the hetu for swapna, but that does not make jagaritam as paramartha satyam. Okay, let's go to the next one. 40. नास्त्य सद्धेतुकम् असत् सदसद्धेतुकं तथा सच्च सद्धेतुकं नास्ति सद्धेतुकमसत्कुतः. So this is the one I was telling. He dismisses all four. Nasti asadhetukam asat. Asat cannot be a hetu means karana. Karana for another asat. Then sat asadhetukam tatha. Sat cannot be born from asat. Asat cannot be born from asat. Sat cannot be born from asat. And satcha sadhetukam nasti. No sat is also born from another sat. It's the same thing which exists, continue to exist in different form. It's not that one is born from another. Then sadhetukam asat kutaha. How can asat be born from sat? Okay, that is the thing. Okay, all four are not possible is the idea. Okay, how we will see. Paramartataha tu na kasyajit kenachidapi prakarena karya karana bhavaha upapadyate. There is no karya karana. There is no creation. Basically, the idea is the world born from Brahman? See, there are different vadas which are there. If you actually see the four things that are mentioned here, one or other Siddhanti is using that logic. From Asat, Asat is no Asat is born, is the first part, right? Who says that? Nasti Asad Hetukam Asat. Some Siddhanti has to say from Asat, Asat is born. Who says? Buddha is actually saying that. Buddha says what? Nothing Shunya. Okay. Shunyavadi says, in fact, I think the Tikakara says that Shunyavadinaha tu sadeva karyam jayate shunyat iti manyate tan praha saditi. So Shunyavadi is saying that there is Shunya underneath, and the world that is born also is not, it's all Maya. So from Asat Asat, then you have what? Sad Asad Hetukam. From Asat Sat is born. This is Nayayika. So there is a Prag Abhava, and then the Bhava Padartha is born from Abhava. Okay, Prag Abhavat, Bhava Padartha is born. Then they have Pradvamsa Abhava, Anyonya Bhava. All these things are. So they talk about Sat being born from Asat, which is Abhava. Then there is a Satkaryavadi. So the Sat is born from Sat, like Sankhya. There is an existent Prakriti which undergoes something to become this world. That is from Sat, Sat is born. Then there are some Vedantis who says from Sat Brahma and Asat Jagat is actually born. Okay. That also we don't accept. We see only during Avidya there is an as though seen Jagat. There is no real birth or anything. So that is what is being dismissed here. All four are dismissed. Where is the Jagat? What birth you are talking about? All that is there is only Brahma. That's it. Okay. परमार्थतः तु न कस्यचित् केनचिदपि प्रकारेण कार्यकारणभावः उपपद्यते. So if you look at reality, the appearances leave it. Okay. In appearances there is always birth. In dream also there is a calf born from a cow. But is there a Paramartha Dasha? If you really look at the content, is there a birth? Kasyajit kenajidapi prakarena karyakarana bhavaha na upapadyate. No cause effect is possible. Khatam nasti asad hetukam asat sasa vishanadi hetuhu karanam yasya asataha eva kapushpadehe tad asad hetukam asat na vidyate. He gives an example for asat from asat. Okay. Born from Asad, Sasha Vishana, the rabbit's horn. From the rabbit's horn is born the sky flower or star or something near the star. If you see in the space there is a flower that is called Kapushpa. That Kapushpa, the flower which has blossomed in the space on the sky from the cloud, that kind of a flower is non-existent. Okay, like rabbit's horn. Okay, from rabbit's horn this kapushpa is born. Is it possible? He says na tad asad hetukam asad na vidyate. Nothing like that is there. मृगतृष्णाम्बसि स्नातः कपुष्पकृतशेखरः एषः वन्द्यासुतः गच्छति सशशृङ्गधनुर्धरः. Like that one shloka Bhashyakara Bhagavad Acharya actually writes in Taittiriya Upanishad. In Taittiriya Upanishad, he creates a shloka which is full of these non-existent things. Kapushpa Krita Shekharaha. Mrigatrishna Ambasi Snataha. The one who takes bath in the mirage water. After taking bath in mirage water, Mrigatrishna Ambasi Snataha. Mrigatrishnika means mirage. Ambasi means water. In the water, which is a mirage in the, in barren land, in a desert, there is a mirage water in which he has taken bath. Mrigadrishna Ambasi Snataha Kapushpa Krita Sekaraha. He has adorned his hair with beautiful flowers which grew in the sky. Okay, Kapushpa Krita Sekaraha. Yeshaha Vandyasutaha. The one who was born to a mother who hasn't given birth to any child. That kind of a mother, he has been born. But she hasn't given birth to a child. That means what is an unborn, non-existent. Vandyasutaha Gachati. Yeshaha Vandyasutaha Gachati Shashashringa Dhanurdara. The Shashavishana, the rabbit's horn, using the rabbit's horn, he has made one bow. Taking that bow in hand, made out of rabbit's horn, this fellow is going. Like that, there is one shloka. Means what? There are words, but there is nothing like that. It can sound very beautiful. Okay, pleasing, what a great shloka, but actually there is no meaning to it. I mean, there is meaning, but there are no things, it doesn't talk about anything which is real. Okay. Similarly, here, Sasha Vishanadi Hetu, from Sasha Vishana, Kapushpa is born means what? Or from Kapushpa, Sasha Vishana is born. There is nothing like that. Then Tatha Sadapi Ghatadi Vastu Asadhetukam Shashavishanadi Karyam Nasti. Now the second one is Asat, Sad Asad Hetukam. From Asad Sat is born. So from a rabbit's horn, a pot is born. Is not possible. First of all, from rabbit's horn, that phrase itself is doesn't make any sense, because from what? From nothing something is born is not possible. Only in Christian theology they say from nothing God created the Jagat. How can from nothing something can be created? Like our Nayayika. Abhava is the cause. How can Abhava be cause? Which Abhava creates what? How do you know? So from this Abhava comes a horse. From that Abhava comes a cow. What is the difference between this Abhava and that Abhava? We don't know. Right? How can one Abhava, which is not different from another Abhava, create a cow, whereas the other one creates a horse? Okay, so there should be something in that abhava which specifically in Tamil we say no swara. What is that? Vera pata swara mal. So what seed you sow, that tree only will come. You put coconut tree only will come. Mango tree cannot come. So that means the quality of the tree should be in that seed. Now if it is abhava, so coconut abhava creates coconut and mango abhava creates mango. What is the difference between coconut abhava and mango abhava? What distinguishes one from the other? How does that quality exhibit itself in an abhava? These are very illogical kind of statements actually. Okay. Now the third one. Satcha vidyamanam ghatadi vastuantra karyam nasti satkaryam tata satcha vidyamanam ghatadi vastuantra karyam nasti. So the ghata part cannot create a mat. Mat cannot become the cause of a rat. It is not possible. So one thing, clay can become a pot, can become a jar, and then it can be broken into pieces, but it remains a clay. Okay, so any which way, if you actually look at the five elemental model, finally it's all down to the combination of same elements only, rejigging of it. So at atomic level, everything is same. There is no vastuantra karyam. It's only rearrangement. There is no actual creation. Then satkaryam asat kutaha sambhavati. From sat asat, how will it be born? Okay. So from sat asat is born means Asat can lead birth to Asat means there is no birth actually has been given. That's what it means, no? From the true rabbit, okay, a fake rabbit was born or a non-existent rabbit was born means what? It doesn't make any sense. It is just a phrase which has no meaning. The rabbit exists as it is. That's what it means. Okay. Satkaryam asatkutaha eva sambhavati. Na cha anyaha karyakarana bhavaha sambhavati shakyaha va kalpitum. So there is no other karyakarana bhava which is possible. You should not ask, oh, you spoke about Buddha, Sunyavadi, you spoke about Nayayika, you spoke about Sankhya and even Vedanti, but what about all others? There are Charuvaka, there is this and that. They all are part of one or the other. For Charuvaka, it is Sat to Sat only, no? So he belongs to the third category. Okay, Dvaitins are also all the other Dvaitins, like Madhva Dvaiti and all, they more or less follow Nyaya philosophy. I think they pick up Nyaya, but for them also, I think it is Sat from Sat only. So anyway, all these can be clubbed within these four. Any other philosophy. Therefore, he says, Nacha Anyaha Karyakarana Bhavaha Sambhavati Shakyaha va Kalpayitum. You can't even imagine another possibility. From Sat to Sat, Sat to Asat, Asat to Sat, Asat to Asat. These are the four, no? If only there is Sat and Asat, it's only 2 by 2. Permutation combination. Ataha Vivekinam Asiddha eva Karyakarana Bhavaha Kasyajite Ityabhiprayaha. Okay. Karyakarana Bhava is not possible for a Viveki to accept. Okay. Now come to 41. Viparyasadhyatha jagrate Achinyan bhutavat sprishet Tata swapne viparyasad Dharmam statraiva pashyati. Okay. Even then, okay. Okay. So there is a viparyasa. He gives actually Bhashyakara gives an interesting example. This Hasti, there is a elephant which is seen in Swapna. Okay. Hastyadin pashyaniva vikalpayati tatraiva pashyati natu jagaritat. Okay. So the question asked here or the contention. Okay, so you have just said there is no creation at all, has been stated now. Okay, the Purva Pakshi is raising an objection. Actually, not even a Purva Pakshi objection, but he himself clarifies. Okay, because it's a duplication of, I don't know, some pop-up has come. App Zoom wants to enter picture in picture automatically. Also. Anyway, it's okay. Okay, here Viparyas. So there is between a similarity of unreality between Vacan and dream is re-established here. Okay, Viparyasad yatha Jagrat Achintyat Bhutavat Sprushet. As though it is existing, as though it is real. Okay, there are objects seen. Bhutavat Sprushet. As though it is existent. What? Achintyat. Okay, that which cannot be imagined. By false knowledge, by error, there are things which are seen even in Vacan. Viparyasat. The example is the elephant. Okay, when a magician brings up an elephant, even though it is non-existent, but it is seen as though a lot of things are done. In fact, Bhashyakara uses again Rajju Sarpa only here. Similarly, in Swapnam also, the same thing is there. Within that Swapnam also, there are unreal things you are seeing. Not only the Swapnam is seen as unreal in Vacan, but within Swapnam also, the unreality is seen. Okay. तथा स्वप्ने विपर्यासात् धर्मान् तत्र एव पश्यति. Okay, it's not that, okay, you are seeing about swapnam in vacan, the unreality of it. But even within swapnam also there are unreal things which are seen. So which also establishes that even within the vacan, you see anyway unreal things. पुनरपि भाष्यकार जाग्रस्वप्नयोः असतोः अपि कार्यकारण भाव आशंकाम अपनयन्नाह. He says, even though even any kind of doubt or still possibility of causality of relationship between waken and dream, that also needs to be dismissed, is what is, in fact he goes one step and says that Jagra Swapna Karya Karana Bhava also, because earlier, the one verse before, we said the Swapna actually has its cause in Jagrat, which is unreal. Okay. But the later verse said nothing is created from anything. Okay. Unreal from unreal also is not possible. Okay. That is what was said now. Because from Sataha Asat, Asataha Asat, all those were spoken. So now then again there is this conflict comes, no, because you just said from unreal Jagrat and unreal Swapnam was can be created is what you said. So that also is actually now being dismissed. Viparyasad avivekataha yata Jagrat Jagarite achintyan bhavan ashakya chintanan rajju sarpadin bhutavat paramartavat sprishe. So, because of your ignorance, because of false knowledge, okay, Vrisha, even avivekataha, that's what he says, because of indiscrimination, even in Vekan, there are things which are unreal, which are seen like Rajju Sarpa. There is no Sarpa and Rajju, but you are seeing Bhutavatu, Paramartavatu, you are seeing. Like Sprishan Niva Vikalpaya, Vikalpaya Dityartaha. कश्चित् यथा तथा स्वप्ने आल्सो विपर्यासात् हस्त्यादीन् पश्यन्निव विकल्पयति तत्रैव पश्यति न तु जागरितात् उत्पद्यमानान् इत्यर्थः. So there are things, okay, he tells something else here. Okay, there are things that you see in swapna which is not necessarily created from the waken. The hastyadin that you are seeing in the kind of elephant that you see in dream are actually not even available in your Jagrat. Okay, so it is just because you have the samskara of seeing duality and certain things in Vakan, it just continues in dream. That's all. So there is no cause effect there. It's not that the Vakan is creating that particular elephant in the dream. Okay, there is no real cause effect. Okay, both are independent in a sense. Okay, that's what is being established. Okay, 42. उपलम्बात् समाचारात् अस्ति वस्तुत्ववादिनां जातिस्तु देशिता बुद्धैः अजातेस्त्रसतां सदा. उपलम्बात् समाचारात्. Okay. Here again, if you see the words used, buddhaihi, ajatehe, okay, deshita, upadeshita, okay, by Buddha. Buddha means Bhashyakara, Buddhaihi Advaitavadibihi, the Jnani, not the other Buddha. I think we already spoke about this, right? This whole Alata Shanti, the Karikakara is using the words which were prevalent at that time because of Buddhist influence, but he refabricated those words to mean Advaitic content. Okay. Therefore, in fact, na buddhena bhashitam, he concludes. There he directly means Buddha. Here, buddhaihi is Advaita Vadibihi. Yapi buddhaihi Advaita Vadibihi jatihi deshita. The question is, if there is no creation, whether you are saying there is no birth from unreal to real, real to unreal, real to real, all that, then why are Advaitavadis, why did they talk about this kind of Srishti? This has already been answered. In fact, Bhashyakara is going to conclude in this particular verse, Bhashya, saying that it has been already told. Upayas so avataraya ityuktam. He says at the end. In the third chapter itself, Prakarana itself, it was spoken about that it is used only to show the Sarva Vyapitvam of Brahman. The Karya Karana is used only to show Karya is not different from Karana. All that is there is only Karana. Okay. Same thing. He says, Yapi Buddhaihi Advaitavadivihi Jatihi Deshita Upadishta. The Advaitavadis, whatever the birth that has been spoken about, has been taught, is Upalambanam Upalambaha Tasmat Upalabdehe Ityartaha. Okay, it is only for gaining, understanding, recognizing. Upalabdhi means cognizing, understanding for the sake of realizing the. So it's for the Brahman. Basically, it means it's only a prakriya. The Karya Karana is a prakriya. Srishti is a prakriya to show that all that is here is only Brahma. Samacharat Varnashramadi Dharma Samacharat Samacharanacha Tabhyam Hetubhyam Asti Vastutvavadinam Asti Vastubhavaha Ityevam Vadanashilanam Dridagrahavatam Shraddadhananam Mandavivekinam Artha Upayatvena Sa Deshita Jatihi Tam Grinantu Tavate. So if you look at the verse Upalambat Samacharat Asti Vastutvavadinam. Asti Vastu means, see, uh, this is the argument that is given by Dvaitis. Even today they say, what? Because there is, all this is available to me. All these perceptions are there, the world is visible. I have this body, I have other bodies, I have this whole sun and moon, and everything is there in front of me. And there is samachara also. The Veda has said this is the Varna Dharma, this is Ashrama Dharma. So you do the samskara, then you grow into a satvika, all that. So all this is there. Therefore, how can you say all this is not there? That kind of a vada is there for Dvaitis. Okay, only because it is. I see. We say Drishyatvat Anrutam. They say Drishyatvat Satyam. I am seeing, therefore it is there. But we say you are seeing, therefore only it is not there. The logic is, the argument is same. The same hetu. So Pujya Swamiji used to quote one situation where one lawyer argued a case and then said, because of this argument this guy is guilty. And the other guy woke up and said, with small changes, that for the because of the same argument this guy is not guilty. Okay, the conclusion is different for the same. It's like this Shatadushani and Satabhushani. So Vedanta Desika wrote, I think Vedanta Desika is what I heard. Okay, wrote a thing called Shatadushani, that there are 100 defects of Advaita Vedanta. Okay, saying that these are the reasons why defects of Advaita. Then somebody wrote back another book saying 100 glories of Advaita, and most of it, or almost all of it, were picked up from same Vedanta Desika's contentions, right? These are the 100 things which make it defective. We pick up the same 100 and say this becomes the Bhushana. This is the glory. Mithyatvam is the glory, right? They say, oh, how can something be Mithya? Mithyatvam is what establishes so many things. So like that, they ask, then Upadesha Anarthakyatvam, all those kind of things they talk about. In fact, Vellagonda Ramarai Kavi says Upadesha Anarthakyam is possible, is there only in the other non-Advaitis. The Upadesha is needed only in Advaita. Why? Because here only there is a reorientation. You are seeing something which is unreal, so a reality is shown to you so that you can gain the vision right here and there. In other places, you have to only go to a heaven. There it is, finally it is about belief. Or you have to show and make them see. Only in the Buddha, at least they can claim that Shunyatvam. We are talking about, seeing that fact. But can you see that fact is a different question. But all others, except Buddha and Advaiti, all others, finally they have to conclude saying that you have to go to heaven or somewhere, some kind of a belief. Even Sankhya, how are you going to bring Samyam of the Triguna and all that? So moksha is becomes a belief only. Anyway, let's come back. Samacharat varnashramadi dharma samacharanat. So the varna dharma and ashrama dharma is to be is being followed by some people, and because it has to be followed, tabhyam hetubhyam. Therefore, all these become true. There is varna, somebody is brahmana, somebody is kshatriya, somebody is vaishya, somebody is shudra. And then there is ashrama dharma, somebody is a brahmachari, someone is a grihastha, vanaprasthi, somebody is a sannyasi, each one has a dharma. Then you have punya papa, then you have, you take births, all that is there. Therefore, all this has to be real. That is asti vastutvavadinam, asti vastu bhavaha iti evam vadanashilanam. People who talk as though, oh, because Shruti is talking about all these, whatever Shruti says cannot be untrue. Therefore, Shastra Anartakyam is not acceptable. You are also a Shrutivadi only. Therefore, these have to be true, is what they say. Drida Agraha Vatam Shraddha people who are very strongly against understanding this thing. Okay. But they are Shraddha. They have Shraddha in Shrutivakya, so they follow Varnashrama Dharma properly. Their Viveka is less Manda Vivekinam. Okay. Artha Upayatvena Sa Deshita. All this Srishti, everything is Deshita means start. Jatihi Tam Grinnantu Tavat. Till they gain the Chitta Shuddhi, they need a structure. So you need to present creation in a way that helps you, fall into the ladder and then move up. Therefore, Shastra has given you this. Because you have to understand all this. Otherwise, see, nowadays the questions come, oh, Varnashrama Dharma. My father himself used to ask, oh, we have to do all these things. What about people who are born in Antarctica? How do they get salvation? For them, this, if it is not applicable, so why for us only it is? So all kinds of questions will come, because this Varnasrama Dharma and all is limited. See, one way to look at is everything was Vaidika Dharma in this beginning of the creation. It got over the time, it has changed all that. But even then, how true is all these things is will questions will come, right? So to understand clearly, then is here he clearly states, okay. So the Vedantis talk about this Srishti so that people get their qualification. Shruti also, not just Vedanti, Shruti also talks. Okay. So Advaita Vadibihi is what he uses. So I said Advaitins. But actually it's Shruti itself is talking about the Ashrama Dharma, Varna Dharma and all that. Vedanta Abhyasinam tu Swayameva Ajad Aja Advaya Atma Vishayaha Vivekaha Bhavishyati iti Natu Paramartha Buddhya. ते हि श्रोत्रियाः स्थूलबुद्धित्वात् अजातेः अजातिवस्तुनः सदा त्रस्यन्ति आत्मनाशं मन्यमाना अविवेकिनः इत्यर्थः. Okay. Whoever does Vedanta Abhyasa means what? Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana. For them, Swayameva Aja Advaya Atma Vishayaha Vivekaha Bhavishyati. Okay. So for them, the Viveka automatically happens. Okay. So therefore, there is no Paramartha Buddhi in all this Varna Veda and all that. It's all, everything is Mithya only, including the Veda is part of Mithya only, no? Only Sadvastu is Brahma. Tehi Shrotriyaha Stula Buddhitvat. The other people, okay, I think here it is talking about people who are still not jnanis, okay, but they have shraddha. Okay, they are Shrotriya, but they are still not in a position to understand the vision. For them, okay, they actually are afraid of what? This Ajati Vastu Brahma, because Atma Nasham Manyamana, they think they will get destroyed. Okay. Because what if everything becomes Brahma, then I will lose my individuality. This is like people who are afraid of sannyasa, no? Oh, I will lose all my happiness. Some people, if I become a sannyasa, take up sannyasa, then what will happen? I then have to relinquish. Hey, boss, if you are not ready, then fine. Nobody is forcing you, right? This kind of a thing. Okay. Similarly, here, Atman Asham Manyamana. Oh, if I gain this jnana, then all this individuality will be gone. So they are afraid. Okay, Atman Asha will happen. So for them, why unnecessarily fear them? So just go and do all this is true. This whole world is created from this. So that is one way. One is as a prakriya to make people understand all that is here is Brahman. For others also, then for everybody, it can't be just a prakriya. No? For people who are not even starting to understand Vedanta, for them, why this is said? This is said because then they properly fall under a structure in which they can grow. The whole Varnashrama Dharma has been created so that people can actually grow to gain this jnana. Right? That is the whole thing. The whole this whole culture also this that is why this even now we can hear people say Sanatana Dharma is a way of life, Hinduism is a way of life. What is this way of life? Way of, it's not way of life, it is making your life, you follow the life in a particular structure so that you can gain moksha. Okay, that is what it is. It is a way to moksha. That is it truly is Sanatana Dharma. If one follows, then one, there also we have distortion. Now Sanatana Dharma includes so many branches who also are very theologians only. They are theologists, not very different from Abrahamic theologists. We also have our own theologists, no, in today's Sanatana Dharma bracket, Hinduism bucket. Okay. But if you go with the spirit of how this whole dharma is created, there the progression is towards moksha, which is gaining jnanam, that kind of a moksha, not some belief system. Okay. Therefore, for them, avivekinaha, this has been given. Again, because that is a context I am talking about it. Upayaha saha avataraya iti uktam. It is a means to make people understand or follow dharma. Is what was told in the third prakarana. Just read the next verse and close today. Ajate strasatam tesham उपलम्भाद्वियन्ति ये जातिदोषा न सेत्स्यन्ति दोषोऽप्यल्पो भविष्यति ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते ॐ शान्तिः 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 हरिः ॐ श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः हरिः ॐ
धन्यवादः।